The sculpture from the stone mold. The latex mask, actually, this is going to get foam filled. This is extremely thick, but it came out pretty perfect. There's a couple flaws in it, but I've learned some new tricks on how to fix these little flaws. There's little air bubbles here in here that I got to fix. No big deal though, because this new trick is going to work great. And now you can see how perfect these lips look. Oh my God, look how perfectly shaped they look. They're just, I'm so pumped for this. This is going to be a really, really nice mask. You guys, I hope you're excited for this. I also learned that I can use, what do you call it? I have to heavily put the release agent on this, but I'll be able to put the plastic right over this. But right now I've got to let this shrink up for about 2-3 days. I need this to shrink to its maximum. I'm hoping to get it to about 26 inches. Right now this mask pulled, it was at 28 inches. Well, no, it was at 27 and a half inches, and it's at 27 inches now, but this will shrink up another inch, no doubt. This is the pull. There's some little bit of air bubble work that I have to fix on it. That's nothing. I have a new trick that I'm going to use to fix that. But this is the pull. This is going to be foam filled, and then I'm going to stone cast this to make the 24 inch. Once I stone this should shrink me down to another 20 to a 24 inch mask. 24 and a half, something in that range. This will make the large mask, and I know I'm a little too close, so you can't really, it distorts the way the face looks. Let me back up and zoom in. But there you go, guys. This thing looks really good. I'm super pumped for this. Custom Corpses V2 FB78. And hopefully I can get this stuff moving. I'm thinking now that I don't have to deal with making a urethane master copy, and I can put the resin right over top of this. Look out, we're going to make a beautiful plastic mold that I'll be able to slush cast. Even after surgery, it won't be that heavy. It's like 2 cups, maybe a cup of latex inside the resin, and the resin mold's very, very, very light. I'll be able to slush cast these masks and get them out, even if I get this surgery sooner than I thought. So I'm just so pumped that I don't have to make that extra step, that extra work into making a urethane master copy. But this thing turned out almost flawless. It's funny, I said to my friend Pipe Master, oh, it turned out perfect. And then after I had already said that, I started looking at it and I started seeing a little bit of imperfections here and there, but no big deal. It's going to be fixed. It's going to be fixed. I just have to go to the local Home Depot and go get the product I need to fix this. And you know, the funny thing is, after this was pulled, it narrowed the face naturally. It doesn't look as wide down here now. It actually made it look very narrow, which I'm pumped, because that's going to look, that's where I want it to be. Oh yeah. The FB78, man. V2, what do you think? This is the pull that's going to make, I got to stone this once it shrinks down to 26 inches. And it will, I got a fan on it right there, blowing on it. And I usually face it. I'm going to face that mask right at that fan when I'm done videoing here. But this thing turned out really nice. Really got the detail. Um, I'm excited for this. I hope you guys are. Hope you're excited for this, because this is going to produce a hell of a nice mask. I can't wait to put the resin on the next stone pull. Let me see. This will be all right. So we do all right. This is going to shrink down to 26 inches. Yes. And what'll happen is I'll stone this after it's foam filled. All right. And then what we'll do is we'll make another master copy and foam fill that copy. And that will make a 25-inch mask. And then I'm going to do it again. When I make the 25-inch master copy, I will stone that and shrink that down to the 24. And with these details the way they are, and the thickness that I put these in, I won't lose any detail at all. So we should have a really beautiful 24 and a really beautiful 25-inch mask. That's the goal. My goal is to have a 25-inch mask and a 24-inch mask for you guys. No more of these large masks. You know, because there's the other mask. That's the version 1. I should take it off in comparison. Nah, I can already see it's smaller. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited, man. Getting the ball rolling here. All right, guys. I just wanted to fill you in on this, let you know what's going on. Let me turn it to the side so you can see it a little bit. There's one side. Yeah, don't it though? I'm pumped. Looks amazing. Bo Norton. I think we're gonna have a beautiful mask here. Beautiful mask. It's gonna be real. It's gonna produce a hell of a nice. I gotta go get the stuff I need to fix the. Oh yeah. I'm excited. Here, I'll show the back of it. Show the back of it. Custom Corpses V2 FB78. Now, what's nice about this mask is you won't see anything on the neck. I got rid of the logo on the neck. The hair will cover this. The last string of hair, well, the hair gets glued right above, right between here, and then the next row is right between there. And it'll cover the Custom Corpses even. You won't see it unless you lift it up. But the logo's there. That's the main thing. The logo is there. And I'm thinking I'm going to use, Nick Mulpagano was on one of his lives, and he was thinking about, he was doing something where, and I asked him if it's okay if I did the same thing, because I really like this idea. There's personalized versions, you know, for maybe the first 20 masks. The first 20 masks, you're going to have your name, like say it's Pipe Master or Bo Norton. It's going to be, it'll have a custom, I have to sculpt it in clay and then make a stone mold so I can make it make a latex name of your name, Bo Norton edition. That's what we're going to call it. We're going to go Bo Norton edition, since you're on with me. And I'm only going to do that for the first 20 masks, maybe 15. I don't know. It just depending on how I feel. But I'm looking at 20 masks. The first 20, we'll do that. And then it starts the numbering game. So the custom mask, first people that order will get their name inside part of the mask. It'll actually have a logo that's made out of latex glued to the inside of your mask, and it'll be put in there with latex. So I'm also I finally found how to color the latex without paint. In other words, I want that flesh tone, that dark flesh tone. Well, I know the ingredients to it now, so I'm going to be able to mimic that as well. But looking down on that, look how perfect the eye cuts are. Oh my God, that looks so good. I can't wait, man. This is going to really be a nice mask. I can tell just by the way it looks now. Adding paint to it is going to be insanely cool. So I can see little tiny things I have to fix in here. See those little air bubbles that are in there? I can see that, and all I'm going to do is touch that with the product that I have to use. That I'm not going to share because somebody was nice enough that's in the business, doesn't want me to say what it is. So when I use this product, it'll fill those little bubbles before I make the mold, and we will have a perfect sculpture, or perfect mold. Yes, it has to be perfect for me to put the resin on it. And this came out almost flawless. I don't think there is such thing as a perfectly flawless mask. They all come out with a little bit of this or a little bit of that, little things that go wrong. But this here, it's close enough to perfect to fix it perfectly and really give us a beautiful mask for you guys. But I like that personalized thing that Nick Mulpagano was doing. That's pretty cool. It was a good idea. And I just think yeah, well, right now it's very green. You can see it's real pale white, and it's still got a lot of drying to do. Yeah, it came out really nice. I sat out back. I dwell casted this, right? And for a half hour, I take my rubber mallet and I bang on the walls to get the air bubbles to come out. So 99.9% of this mask is flawless. There are a few air bubbles in the ear, and there's I saw another air bubble on this side, on that ear, and then there's a couple of air bubbles right in the eyebrow. You see those little tiny imperfections. I'm going to fix all that. That's no big deal. I finally got a product that can do it, but I'll show you these air bubbles. See these air bubbles here? Look. And here, and here, and here. There's one. But everything else is really perfect. This is only dirt. This is nothing. It actually got trapped into the latex. I don't really care. That's not going to come off onto your... There's also... right in here, I got to fill that just a little bit. There's a little bit of air bubbles right in the nostril here. But this mask is really nice. I got the nose even more perfect too, guys. Now, you couldn't really see. Yes, I think so too, Asylum. I think this thing is really, really on the money. Look at those lips, man. Woo! Baby. We've got ourselves a beautiful mask here. The eye cuts are perfect. Now I have to take a Dremel. There's a little bit of a air bubble that was right here, but it's an outie, which is going to be really easy. All I have to do is Dremel that off a little bit. But I'll be able to fix those little... See, there's those little things you have to constantly look at this thing over and over again to make sure it looks really good. But you can't miss anything, because once I stone this, then whatever's here goes into the stone, and we don't want that. Silverado, yeah, we're moving along here, man. We got ourselves a master copy that I have to shrink up. Yeah, the eye cuts are right on the money too, man. They are really perfect. The lips are right on the money. Even the lumps underneath of the lips here, those bumps are there on the original mask. That's when I make sure that was there. Yeah, I had to retool them a little bit. There was so many. I'll tell you what happened, guys. Let me zoom out a little bit. All right, so the first thing I couldn't put my finger on it, and even and nobody was actually nailing this. And then all of a sudden I looked at this from a different perspective. And you see this check mark cheek here? All right, what I was seeing was the check mark, this point right here was all the way out here. So it made the cheeks look like they were coming out and they were too flat. Then I realized I had to cut this back further, even the cheek line. I had to cut the cheek line back. This, when the head is sitting on your head, the peak lines up with the back of the eye cut. That's true to all Michael Myers masks, not just the flashback. And same thing with this. This side, it looked like everything was out here. It was staying out, it was too far out. This here, and it checks, and then it goes back. And that has to be lined up to the back side of this eye cut. I'm not hitting it right because I'm trying to look at the camera. So that was the first thing I noticed what was wrong with my sculpture. And then once I made those adjustments, then I started seeing what was wrong with the lips. It actually gave me the right proportion in here, because once I cut them back further, it also straightened out. And why I couldn't, it felt like one side was longer than the other and deeper than the other, and it was driving me nuts. I had to bring this lip out further, especially all up in here. I had to add more clay in this area to match this side. So there was a lot done. And then I noticed the bump here in the shadows sticks out just a little bit more right there. And I have that exactly like the screen used mask. Now, as close to the screen, I can't say exact. There's no such thing as exact, but it's very close. It's very close. Now it's distorted right now because I'm so close to it. When I get so close to it, it distorts the face. Let me zoom in. Yeah, see, now you guys can see that we have a really beautiful mask here. This is going to be a home run. Now this looks really white right now. Well, that's Michael Myers, but I also learned some techniques on how to paint this thing, and how to make flesh tone latex. Now I'm getting surgery, all right? So I'm getting the gastral bypass surgery. I don't know if I told you guys, but if you don't know, this is what I'm planning on doing. I have to go see the specialist on the 5th. Now, I've been kind of looking into it to see exactly what happens. I think there's like 2 months of preparation before they'll even do the surgery. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's diet change. Maybe it's I don't know. Vitamins, all kinds of stuff that I have to do prior to. I don't know how true that is, but if they're going to rush it and get me done right away, I'm going to try and pour up a bunch of these masks right away. So I have a whole bunch of them sitting there, and all I have to do is put them in my paint booth, paint them and hair them, and I don't have to do any lifting. The last thing I can do when I get that stomach surgery is I can't lift these heavy stones. So I plan on putting resin on this. So the resin will be light. So I'm probably going to pour up a bunch of these masks prior to surgery. No doubt, I have to do a bunch of masks. I have to do a bunch of masks before I get the surgery. So once I get the 2 molds made for the 24 and the 25-inch mask, my plan is to pour up a bunch of masks that'll be ready to go. Now the nose is on now. The problem with the nose that I had before, all right, the nose it's longer, it's bigger, and it's fatter. But the peak up here, these nostril flare-outs, they were too low. They were way down here, and it made this nose look really big here. So once I brought those peaks up, and that's funny, you can thank Pipe Master for noticing it. He saw that he said, something's wrong with that nose, something's wrong with the nose, it didn't look right. And sure enough, he was right. We nailed this because I put the nostril flare outs up higher. Now I'm going to Dremel this just a little bit right in here to take off that line right to the edge. I want that to be a little smoother there. Same with that. So maybe not. I'm just going to leave it alone because paint will hide all that. I'm not worried about that. Paint will hide that. But I got to make sure I get all these little flaws out of here. There's a little tiny little bit of air bubbles in there, just real tiny. What line? Well, I'm silent. What line? What are you talking about? What line am I talking about? I just missed the... All right, let me try to show it to you this way. All right, you see these nostril flare-outs? They were too low. They literally were down here where my finger is. Where the edge of my nail, that's how low these flare-outs were, and it made this nose look huge. But it wasn't, because I had the profile cut out, and it was perfect. So it was perfect there, and I could why it didn't look right until we flared out these nostrils higher. I brought it up from here to about here, and now everything looks right. The flare-outs look really nice and round in the way it's supposed to be, and now it makes the nose look right. Let me see, let me back up. See, I have a cutout. I don't know if I still have it here. Do I have it here? Yes, I do. It's all messed up though, so let me see if I can... So I have a cutout. It's a little messed up. This fan ain't helping. Hold on. Hold on. Got to turn that fan away. Just for a second. Now, see this cutout? This is the actual cutout of the screen. Let me zoom out. Shit. I got to go low. But you can see the nose is exactly, that's the cutout of the actual screen used mask. And look how perfect that is. It's almost dead on. Now this thing's all bent up, the paper, so it's not, it would normally sit right in there perfectly. To the lips, the jaw, the chin, the whole 9 yards. But that size is right. The nose size is right. So, oops. I just dropped my paper. What a mess. So let me do this. I'm going to put the face towards the fan and turn the fan back on this thing because I want this to blow on this overnight. I got to get it to shrink up at least, I'm going to say, another inch if I'm lucky. You know, actually, it wouldn't be bad if it was 26.5 inches because then it'll make a 25.5 inch for my large. And the 25.5 is pretty big. Yeah, well, it's not lining up perfectly, but the nose is the proportions are correct. I know that for a fact. You know, so when the paper wasn't so wrinkled up, it actually lined up on my sculpture perfectly. You know, I had it blown up to match the sculpture size, not so much the mask. The mask has shrunk a little bit. So, yeah, let's keep looking at this. Let me turn my chair around. And we'll turn the mask around so you guys can gawk at it. And man, this is a thick pull too. I mean, this is probably the thickest mask I've ever poured up. It's definitely, it's super thick. I left this sit in the mold for 5 hours dwelling. Not kidding, 5 hours. I left it dwell in there, and it shrunk up. It gave me a super thick pull. And the reason why it gave me such a great pull was because I let this mold completely dry out for like a week before I put the latex inside the mold. There's the mold right over there. I didn't put any latex in this until this thing was super dried out. Because if you do it and it's not completely cured and all the moisture, and there's still a little bit of moisture inside that, it won't pull that moisture out as well. So you want to make sure your molds are completely dry And then when you put your latex in the mold and dwelling it, you want to, for the first half hour, you want to take a rubber mallet, which it's outside. I don't have it in here, but I had a rubber mallet, and I was banging on the wall of the mold all around it, chin, forehead, face, ears, back of the head, and I would whack the hell out of it for about a half hour. Man, my arms were dragging. It was like my arms were out of shape. I was like, whoa, but yeah, for the first half hour until it gets all the bubbles away from the face. And what you do is you know, then you can leave it. Once you bang it for about a half hour, you can leave it. You can leave it and then let it dwell for about a half. Well, I left this dwell for like 5 hours. To a common, normally, for a normal mask, you only make it dwell for about, in a stone mold, about an hour. That's it, hour and a half at most. You know, that'll give you a fairly thick pull, but not too thick. All right. This is thick for a reason. The thicker I make a mask, the more it shrinks. All right. So the purpose behind is to get maximum shrinkage on this, because I think this was at almost, it was like 27 and a half inches as far as the size goes of the actual sculpture. And I'm trying to get it all the way down to a 25. Actually 26. Yeah, 26. Yeah, it was a 27 and a half to 3/4. It was almost 28 inches, the sculpture. You know, so I had to, yeah, but I'm so excited for this. Now, you see the reason why I have the base on there. You see that base? It's even, I left it on here for a reason, because I want that resin, when I put the resin over top of this, I want the resin to go over top of that base as well. This way, my mold will do this. All right. See, here's the mold. Let me zoom out. You see that there's the base. This is the base that's on the base there, and what that does is when I fill this up with latex, I can have overspill here. And if it's the plastic mold, let's pretend this is plastic. I'm only putting a cup or 2 cups of latex inside of this, and I'm slush casting it. And when I slush cast it, I wanted to bring it all the way to the edge. And if there's a little bit of spillage out here, at least it's not going out all over the ground. Because that's the one thing I kept doing with the old molds when I was slush casting, was it would go, if that edge was right here, this stuff would spill out and it would be all over the place. So I don't care if it spills out over here, I just cut away, but I want to make sure that the thickness is even around the neck, at the base of the neck especially. And usually the base of the neck's the most problematic areas, because you're slush casting and you're trying to keep from spilling all that latex out when you're slush casting it up here. And you know, resin, it's actually, it's going to have to be done in layers. With resin mold, because it doesn't absorb moisture. A resin mold doesn't absorb any moisture, so I have to do multiple layers. I put a cup of latex in it. I slush cast it all over the place, pretty evenly. Hang the plastic mold upside down. Put a fan up inside of it after after there's no more dripping. Put a fan up inside of it for it to dry it. Then you got to do the same. You just got to keep repeating it until you get the right thickness. And I'm going to say the right thickness is about an 1/8 inch thick. You know, maybe less than that, less than 1/8. You want it to be somewhat thick, but not too thick. I want the mask to be a little firm so you don't lose it. The thing is with a mask, you want to make sure that the mask doesn't lose its features when it's laying on your head by drooping, because it's too thin. So you want it to maintain its you know. Now this thing here, you literally got to push on it to get it to move, which is pretty wild. It's pretty thick. It is really thick. You see, let me take it off the stand. I'll show you the inside of it. God, that thing even weighs heavy. It's even heavy. I'll get off of there. Now I put some talcum powder in that, and oops. And look how thick this thing is. It is really thick. Let me see if I can get the light inside of here so you can see. It is super thick. But that's okay. That's going to shrink up nicely, and I'll be able to make a nice stone mold from that. I need to put this down a second. Put it back on the stand. Okay. Oh yeah. Let me read your comment. I saw somebody say something real quick. I'm actually going to Asylum. I'm going to pull all the. No, I ain't putting that mask on. I got talcum powder on the inside, and it's too thick. It'll be. The eyes aren't cut out, and I don't want to cut the eyes out because if I do that, it'll ruin the mold. It'll ruin it. I can't stone it then. And plus, I gotta clean out that talcum powder. Once this shrinks up to where it needs to be, I gotta take rubbing alcohol and clean it all out, so I can then put foam. I gotta foam fill it. I have my foam here. It's 2-part foam right here. This is foam, and I get it from BJB Materials. And it's TC 266 Part B, and that's Part A. The ratio is 100 to 50 grams. Now, it's variable density foam, so I can actually make the foam even softer. I can bring it down to 30, 100 to 30 ratio instead of 150. But every time I've done that in our region, especially in the summertime with the humidity, it doesn't get firm enough. It's so soft that it actually delaminates off of the latex, and we can't have that. We don't want it to delaminate. What's going on with the sculpture on the Ed head is still there, and I got my LC is on top there. That's I'm going to be working on that after I get this flashback done and in production. But like I said, I'm dealing with the surgery and everything that's coming up, and then after I lose all my weight, I've got 2 hip replacements that I have to get done. So that's going to tie me up probably next year sometime, next summer. I'm probably going to have to get 1 hip done and then do the other hip. But they won't touch me until I get all the weight off. I got to drop about 100 pounds, well, 80 pounds, they said, about 80 pounds. Lose 80 pounds and we'll do the surgery on your hips. So the only way I'm going to lose weight now is because I'm on Ozempic, and Ozempic is kind of capped off. It's not letting me lose any more weight, and I eat perfect too, guys. You wouldn't believe what I eat. All right, today, you know what I've had? My shakes. I've had 1 shake. I had a handful of grapes. I haven't had my dinner yet. And I don't eat anything that's processed. I don't eat any sugar at all. 0 sugar. You know what? You guys want to look at that while we're doing? Yeah, let's turn this attention over here now that you've seen the sculpt, the finished. So we can look at this. We can look at the. Now I still got a lot of work to do to that. A lot of work, especially with the cheek areas. The lips are okay. They got to be refined a little bit better. That's going to be the LC. That clay, I'm just melting it down. I'm going to melt that down. I'm going to take all that clay off of there and remelt it and reconstitute it. Because, well, first of all, it's been sitting on that armature too long. So what'll happen is when clay's been on something or been in the air too long, it won't stick. It loses its sticking ability. The only way you can get that to stick again is you have to melt it completely down and then it basically reconstitute the clay. So that's what has to happen with that clay. It has to come off of there. So I'll be taking my putty knife and I'll be taking that clay off of there probably in the next couple days. I've kind of left it on there because I didn't really care what was going on with it for now. I don't really need it, but I need the clay for future projects. There's my new my new V2 FB silicone mold. So I'll be making a clay head for that, and I'm going to age it to look like the 2018 mask. That's what I'm going to be doing with the new, with the flashback, the FB mask. The FB mask is going to be aged to look like the 2018. And then I'm going to do the kills and the ends with the same sculpture. And that's what we're going to have. And it's funny, Christopher Nelson, when he sculpted the flashback, he wanted all three of those masks to look very similar. They had to look similar in shape and style with the sculpture itself, because he couldn't make a, when he did the flashback mask, he had to keep in mind that he didn't want that mask to look like a William Shatner, and not because it's uncool to be Shatner, but the real reason is because he needed that flashback mask to look more similar to the mask that he already created with the 2018 and the kills and the ends. Well, ends didn't exist yet, but the kills in the 2018 existed. He needed that mask to look more similar to that than the actual Shatner. But we're going to have a Shatner. We're going to actually have the right size Shatner too. Look at the size of my sculpture. Let me zoom out. Compared to that Shatner up top. Look at the size difference, guys. That's insane. Another thing I'm going to be doing this week before I get into surgery is I'm going to be removing a lot of these tools. Stuff that I don't use in here, that I don't need in here, I'm going to be taking out to my locked shed and keeping all the tools out there, and whatever I use the most is what will remain in this room. Because I can't function. I mean, my countertops, look at all this crap. I can't, this is bullshit. I'm a neat freak. You wouldn't know it by seeing this room, but I'm a neat freak. I really am, and I can't stand being unorganized. I get very, oh man, I just lose my shit. I lose my shit when stuff's like, if I got to look for things, I get really irritated. I know where everything is on these shelves, but it's so clustered. I know that in order to get to my paints, I have to unbury that hole. I have to unbury that hole right there and get to that bucket that has all my acrylics in there. My airbrush stuff is all in here. I've got airbrush guns all up in that shelf. I mean, everything. I have paints up here behind the head. I have my grinder. My grinder I use a lot, so I'll leave that in here. But there's things that don't belong in here. That's got to go. They got to get out of here. And that's going to be the goal this summer, is to really get everything organized and cleaned up out of here, so I can function better. I got my turnstile table right here. That's what the head was sitting on for months. Clean that all up. I still got to clean the underside. Got a little clay on it is all. But I'm going to clean that up and be ready for the next sculpture. Once I melt this clay down, got to get all that off of there. Comes off a lot easier than it looks. But the eye cuts, man, they're so big. That was the original FB first version. That was the first one. And V1. And the eye cuts were so big. Just way too big. But, yeah. This is where we're at, guys. This is the V2 FB78 by Custom Corpses. Those who don't have a free mask coming to them, I think I'm going to start these off at, I don't want to go crazy on this. I'm probably going to start my bidding at 400. That'll be the starting bid. I know guys are saying, oh, no, you should charge 600. Look, I'm just trying to sell masks and make it affordable enough for guys to afford to buy one. There'll be a buy it now for like 450 or something like that. I have to figure it out. I have to figure it out. I'm not trying to raise the price any higher than what I was getting for the other mask. I know it's more accurate. I know it's more, but you know what? That's partially me too, because I'm like, you know what? I wasn't happy with that mask, and I've actually turned people away from buying it. I tried to tell them, no, don't buy it. It's too big. The eye cuts are too big. There's things wrong with it. I didn't wait for the second version. I'm just that kind of a guy. I'm not, I don't take anything from anybody. I don't steal. I believe in a very strong character type of person. I just don't like taking advantage of people. And I'm an honest guy. So I just like to make a good product. And when I see something wrong with something, I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to tell you, stay clear of it. Don't buy it. I sold it, and it wasn't until I got into it, like, I had some people saying, oh man, the mask is too big for me, I can't wear it. And then I lost all my weight, and then I started putting the mask on, and I'm like, oh my God, this thing's huge. And then I'm standing in the mirror, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, oh man, the eye cuts are way too big. And then there was a picture that Pipe Master sent me with his mask, and the eye cuts looked too big. Because you could see his eyes, because he put light on his eyes, so you can see him. He's looking in the mirror, and you can see his eyes inside but you can't see your eyes. If you're in the dark shadows, the mask is big enough to where your eyes sit back far enough in the mask you don't see the eyes, but it's still too big. That's not going to be the case this time, guys. I've got it perfect. And this is going to really, really be a nice mask. You're going to love it. You guys are going to love this sculpture. It's going to give you a really, really nice look. You like the flashback, you're going to love this mask. But I've got to say goodnight because I got to go to bed. I've been up for hours and working hard all day on cleaning up the back shed, getting ready to move all this stuff in there. So, but anybody, any last? Yeah, the LC's pretty cool. I like the LC. Oh yeah, I made a lot of changes to that sculpture in the last minutes before I stoned it. I had to change the lips a little bit. From here, when I pulled the clay out of this silicone master, I altered the lips a little bit and the nose a little bit from this original. And I got to do it again when I do the 18. I got to make it look like this. I got to make it look just like this. Can you see my hand? No, you can't. What the hell's going on here? Yeah, I got to make it look like that. The lips, the nose. Now the the cuts and the cheek lines and everything are identical. That's all been in there, but the nose and everything has to be. Now the nose is the same size. It's just that those nostrils have to be brought up a little higher. So there's little changes, but not they're big enough to where we noticed them. You know, but it'll look amazing when it's done. But I'm going to jump off of here, guys. I just wanted to update you, let you know that I'm not sitting on my ass doing nothing. I've been working and getting stuff done, and we need to get these masks done. I want that flashback in production for the summer. That's what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting to get the 25-inch mask and the 24-inch mask in production. I'm hoping that the mask is 24 and a half inches. That's like the perfect size for anybody that even has a little bit too big of a head for a 24, but a little too small. If your head's a little smaller, this 24 and a half will still fit you. But we'll see how it turns out. We're gonna see. We're gonna see how the end sizes will be. We will know better in a few days when this shrinks up a lot more. Once it shrinks up, I got to put it back in the mold and then foam fill it. And once it's foam filled, then what am I doing? Yeah. Once I foam fill it, I'm going to order the resin and make the resin copy. I have a funny feeling this is going to go down to where I need it to be. Yep. I'm just thinking right now as I'm talking to you guys about what's next. What's next? I just can't wait till the molds are done, so all I have to do is just produce the masks for you. So, and the resin molds, they last forever. And you'll always get the perfect detail. Every time you get a mask, it'll be the same exact thing. There won't ever be a change. The biggest struggle for me is learning how to make sure that you guys get evenly coated thickness in the mask. That's kind of tough because you're draining it as you're doing it, but you just got to keep slushing it until you get it thick enough to where it's nice and, where it's firm everywhere. You don't want any thin spots. And if there are, I'm going to thicken it up in that spot wherever it's too thin from the inside. All right, guys, I'm going to jump. I'll see you. Peace. See you on the next video.